Greetings, role players, and welcome to session 5 of the Star Wars RPG campaign that I've been doing with some friends. As you can see, this is quite a short one because there was only myself and one other player for this particular session. So the DM cooked up something just for us, basically. I also wanted to mention that it will sound a bit echoey at points from my end. I accidentally did something with OBS that meant I was recording my mic into both channels. Normally I have them on separate channels, and I've tried to edit it as best I can, but in cases where I'm talking at the same time that somebody else is, it's sort of unavoidable. So without further ado, let's get on with the adventure.
Okay, so you've been called to Dr. Ellison. Your crewmates have skedaddled off to places unknown. Though Trior is still around, he seems more attuned to the two of you than the other malcontents, or at least that's his words. Not quite, but his words.
Well, I suppose it's always nice to have somebody around who can rip off arms and other stuff if need be.
Exactly. So, I take it you were heading over to the med bay.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure I know the route by this point.
Oh yeah, you spend several hours a day there, helping out and learning new things and the such. So,
I imagine Farah kind of nodding and exchanging greetings with people she passes in the corridors, because she strikes me as the kind of person that would, you know, try and remember people's names and would probably have better success than I do.
Okay, so you get there. You know Dr. Ellison on site. She's the lead head senior doctor for the med bay. She oversees the operations there. She's at a console, busy reading on things.
We don't notice in a reflection against something that she's secretly playing solitaire instead.
Gallagher, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can approach her. You can stand there. What would you like to do?
I'm going to walk up to her and cough politely, which probably sounds a bit weird when you've got four throats.
Yeah, it comes out rather melodically.
Melodiously?
Melodically, there we go. It's not odious. We don't want to put the melodious there. Yes, fair. And thank you for coming. I understand you and your compatriots have been doing some tasks around for the commanders, and I got their approval to send you on a rather unique task mission, shall we call it. I don't really do this much myself. Usually we don't run into this type of situation where we need to send an operative for a medical issue. But we have in one of our pre-planned bases, we like to well, I can't go into it too much, but we like to have preempt bases around the galaxy in case we need to have a fallback position if there's a cat. So
that sounds entirely prudent given the situation.
Exactly. Anyway, at one of our bases, we are having an outbreak of some virus that is not terminal to our knowledge yet. Communications have been reduced for security purposes, but it's definitely impacting the construction that's occurring there, and basically we don't have a spare doctor to go, and want to send you to go and see if you can dig up what's causing it, and if you can, to see if there's a cure for it.
Well, that sounds entirely within my remit. Something I would do as a doctor, so yes, absolutely.
Okay. She pulls out a data pad and says, we've prepared a shuttle for you that is fully loaded with many laboratories, so you can do all the research you need. They don't have the necessary equipment there at site to be able to for you to be able to do that research. So that's why we're sending the equipment with you. Basically, that's it. All we know is it's some infection or something else that's affecting the people there. We don't have any idea of the symptoms, who's being affected. Is it any single species? We've got a mixture of humans and other species there, and that's all we know. We're in a basically blackout zone, so we don't know what's happening.
It's not a lot of information to go on, but
exactly. There's a lot of security going on with this base, so what they consider trivial matters are not getting the necessary communication out, and that's about it. So, but we've included in the shuttle is back to tank. So if you need to treat people, if you need that level of support, things like that. We'll call it a fully stocked emergency medical shuttle type of thing. So they can jump around planet to planet and have it as a triage center. If the mobile triage center.
Can you tell me how many personnel are at the site, at least?
There are over 100 at the site.
Very well.
That's a rather large base. I don't have those exact numbers, but now that you've taken on the task, here's the information, here's the shuttle information. You'll just need to speak to Commander Ashmead for the location of the base, specifically, and he will dispatch you out to go there.
Very well.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, and I look forward to your success and being able to come back and regale us with the wonders of medicine that you've been able to perform.
Well, I shall certainly do my best. I do have one additional question. Does the shuttle include...
You breaking up there?
If you're saying anything,
okay. I was trying to feel around with the sensitivity of the... I best guess I'll just leave that for now. I think it's a bit too sensitive by default in Discord, but
That's fine.
I'll figure it out later. You might hear sniffles or something accidentally. Anyway, I was going to ask if there's going to be any other medical personnel coming with us, or at least even some medical droids, just given the number of people at the base and potentially the scale of the problem.
There are a couple of medical droids at the base that you'll be able to utilize. They don't even have a back to tank there. That's how rudimentary it is. But we send at least some treatment droids with the crew that can help with. And you see her basically just wave her hand across the med bay there. General health and safety issues during a construction project. Anything more serious and basically they'll have to put the person on ice, and you know, for any larger treatment, and get them evacuated out there to a more suitable base. They just didn't want to, how do I put it, have too large a support staff that may draw attention due to the variety of ships and things like that.
I can understand the need for secrecy and discretion. If further support or backup would be required, would that be possible, available?
Depending on what your findings are, definitely. You know, if it's something that if you're able to isolate it, but your facilities aren't able to, in the ship, aren't able to replicate or manufacture a antidote or solution, but you feel that a more larger facility could do it, then definitely get us the information, and we'll send support out at that point. To the point where we may have to close the base altogether if it's something that we're not going to be able to contain.
Very well.
But so basically, get there, isolate the issue, determine if it's healable, determine if you can heal it there yourself, perform the healing, and then get back to us. Would be your tasks. You can tell her she likes her summary.
I'm guessing she also wants a report when you get paid.
Oh yeah, you'll have plenty of time to write up a report, she says, with a kind of little grin on her face. So, would you like to find Commander Ashmead, or
yes, I think that's it. I will say goodbye to Dr. Ellison, go and find Commander Ashmead, and find out where we're going. I have some of my suspicions, but I'm not going to say anything.
Yep. Okay. Commander Ashmead is in operations this time of day, so he's not a difficult man to find. As you come through the doors, he notices you fairly quickly and comes over and welcome. So, Dr. Ellison spoke to you then?
Indeed she did, yes.
Okay, so she gave you the details. We have shuttle Med 2 available and ready to go. Did you need a pilot for the shuttle?
I should be able to pilot it if need be.
Is it? Well, if it's a long trip, I don't want Jalip to be in the chair.
Well, Trior's coming with you.
Oh,
Trior's coming. Yeah. It's a sizable vessel because of all the equipment that you have in there. So, everybody will have their own room type of thing. We'll send an extra security person with you, and they'll just do communication, security, and general, protection. But that's all we can spare. And there'll be a mechanic droid on the shuttle, so to keep the operation of the ship in good order. As to where you're going, I would pack for cold weather. Kind of grins at you, and brings you over to the map. If we look at the map, you see the galaxy map come up, and he's like, "Okay, we're over here," and he points and blips on Yavin. You're going across the whole galaxy. It's going to be about a week plus travel, and you're going down to here.
That is indeed a very long way.
And
she seems mildly impressed with, the implication of the scale of the rebels' operations.
You are going to Hoth.
I I can't say I've heard of it, but I'm sure that's one of its attractions.
Basically, and he gives you a quick rundown. Where you're going to is basically an ice planet. Very cold weather. There is life naturally occurring there somehow, and living there. Very cold. At night, do not be caught out in the open without survival gear. Basically, we're building a large support base if needed, nearly on par with this facility. As a fallback position, thankfully we're just cutting into a large ice mountain, so construction is going fairly decently. You would just have to do, it's basically mining, but you don't have to dig as much because you just melt it away. But we need, the base is only about a third complete, and we needed getting it back up and running. We just had a new communique that I haven't even had a chance to get to Ellison yet, but almost half of the staff have been afflicted at present. And while we haven't had any reports of any deaths yet. The earliest known people are basically invalids in bed, and the newest people, just think of the Rhodian flu, and you get an idea that this is a pretty nasty type of, flu that knows who's running. The Rhodians are known to have mucus come out of their ears under severe, circumstances. It's nasty. So he's like, we need you down there, post haste, and see what you can do to get the base cleaned up and ready to go. And if need be, you have authorization to pull the plug on the whole mission there if it's too dangerous for us to stay.
Well, hopefully it won't come to that, but I will certainly do my best to determine what's wrong and try and do something about it.
Okay. Could do the length of the trip and such. He introduces Lieutenant, and Lieutenant Dees, D-E-E-S. A human will be going with you with as a security support. He's just he's just up to speed on all our support zones along the way. So should you run into trouble, you'll be able to get support easily from our personnel on various planets and moons and such on your trip down there. We recommend staying close to, but away from main trade routes. If you look here, you can see which one is that? The Carillion trade spine is your easiest route to get through there. We'd suggest staying close to it as it is the quickest route, but be aware of Imperial, secure, what's it, customs. We'll call it customs inspections.
I may be able to make contact with. I don't know. I presume you have a background file on me, but yes, I may be able to make contact with some members of my family for help with that, even if it's just information.
Right.
On the quickest way, or places where there are amounts of Imperial activity at the moment.
Well, all we know is they don't, unless it's over a specific planet, they have roving patrols. So we're still gathering information on the roving patrols, but if your contacts have better information, please feel free to collect it, and if you could pass it on to us as well.
Well, the Ithorian traders certainly like to keep tabs on what Imperial customs are doing, for obvious reasons.
So, well, here's your requisition kit for cold weather gear. There'll be additional at the base, but I'd recommend at least be wearing this minimum when you step out of the shuttle. Otherwise, enjoy the frostbite. And good luck.
She nods her head in acknowledgement, and I guess we both turn and go and gather what belongings from our personal quarters on the base that we need, and then go and get the requisition filled, and then go and find the shuttle.
And Trior is like, I hate the cold. Cold's bad.
One would think that a person covered totally in fur would be able to withstand a little bit of cold, but all right. No.
Bear in mind the climate on Kashyyyk. It's a little bit different from where we'll be going.
Yeah. So you hop into your shuttle spacecraft. It's nothing, special or anything else like that. It's got some defense weaponry, and that's about it. But a cursory check will tell you, the pilot, that it's got decent engines on it. It's meant to get to a place and support them fairly quickly.
Before we blast off, or even as we blast off, I would like to use the comms to get in contact with my family, and I'm slightly making this up on the fly, but it makes sense to me that Ithorians would kind of trade information back and forth, various herd ships as they're moving along the trade routes, and so that they would keep tabs on like pirate activity and Imperial activity, and if there's particular unusual things going on in certain areas. I don't know which particular skill this would come under, though. What I'm about to do.
Let's have a look.
Right.
I'm just taking a look at the. Let's see.
There's always that. Would it be resource access or favor, maybe? Because I've used resource access to get some credits already, but it doesn't have to be just credits.
Make a computer use check.
Okay.
You're able to make contact with your family and things like that, but they're not as tied in with the command staff at present. They said they'll have to get back to you in a day or so. So you've got a little bit of a wait there.
Okay. It's a week's journey, so
yeah, you'll have plenty of time to hear back from them.
Okay.
And I'll make some assumptions that along with your gear and things like that you've also got some credits. They give you a credit stick in case you need support. You've got other supplies, food, and things like that. All the generalities are covered. If something you think of later, as long as it's not too eccentric, we'll just assume that you requisitioned it and such.
So you're basically saying we can't just go and say we want a Death Star, please?
No. But if you ask for a Death's Head ring, maybe. Yeah. We'll call you the Panzerkapten or something like that. Stormtrooper.
okay.
So you take off. You're flying. About a day and a bit later, you get contact from your family. So we spoke to some other traders and other people. The trade routes, definitely, if you pop out right in a planet system, you'll be, and there's an Imperial presence, you'll get asked to pull over, being, hold your position and ready to be inspected and scanned and such. Recommend trying to, if you do need to stop at a planet, do a little bit further out if you don't want to get scanned and inspected right away.
So we should be trying to avoid populated systems, essentially.
Correct. From the feedback, the roving patrols tend to stay closer to populated systems. We haven't picked up any specific what's the word I'm looking for? Specific trends in their travels, but pretty much like the if as an example they look at Murja and Yagdul here on the map, there you can expect a patrol easily between there. But if you look at Corellia or Duro to Beston, for about half the distance in between there, don't expect much hassle. So depending on the distance between the systems and such, and how close you are to them, the chance increases.
Okay.
For that. So if you're right in the middle between two systems, you've got little to no risk of being stopped, or even worse, they may have. To be stopped implies that they'll have a hyperdrive in
interdictor.
Interdictor, yes. And if they have one of those, you're in trouble at that point. Okay. We have heard of small vessels disappearing.
Do we have... Is there any plausible cover story that we have or have been provided with, or is this just kind of very obviously, you get inside and you're going to realise it's
No,
rebel vessel? Do we look like we're part of like some kind of medical charity, or I don't even know?
Now that you ask, yeah, they did have a cover story for you. Your targeted planet is in Kelon, which is is a little short of where you're going to be heading to, but in that general direction.
Okay.
Just don't be stopped twice before or after, and after type of thing. Yeah. Because they will check their records and say, wait, when are you going to Incolon type of thing? So if you go past it. They give you a plausible cover story, no reason uniform. They have the lieutenant, when you ask about it, he says, yeah, I've got a special wipe program that will wipe any indication of our background, and unless they really go digging into it, I won't even notice. So we'll be covered. You spend the week heading down there. You take your necessary precautions around the systems and such. You only have to stop now and again to recharge your engines, so it's not too serious. You got enough supplies that you don't have to worry about.
Farah just kind of spends the entire time we're traveling just constantly nervously checking and rechecking all the medical equipment, because it's all she really, she wants something to occupy her mind. It's all she really can do.
I rolled my favorite number, 007. One of my favorite numbers. An eventful trip. You don't get stopped. You take with the necessary precautions you've taken. You don't get stopped. You pop into the Hoth system, and as you approach the planet, you do get, you're inquired upon as to who you are, what you are. Lieutenant Deese takes care of the communication and passwords and such, and you're let through. Allowed to land and given landing coordinates and land on the planet. And as you come into land, you notice this rather harsh, desolate white with only changes in color due to shadowing. There doesn't seem to be any real non-white colored or off-white colored terrain visible anywhere that you can see.
Are we flying into a giant hangar that's carved into the ice?
Not yet.
That
they're working on that.
Okay.
You get to land just outside the large ice mountain, and that they have the usual guy there, like at an airport, can guide you to your landing point specifically. They don't even have landing lights put out, so that any cursory planet, somebody flying over the planet won't notice it too easily. Once you de-ship, they throw a camouflage netting over white. They're trying to keep this real secret until they can obviously get the ships into cover type of situation. You're led into the base and meet a commander of the base, who is, I need to come up with, Waseka.
Okay.
Wasecca. Commander Waseka, human. Kind of noticed that a lot of the command staff of the rebellion tend to be human. It's CA. Okay. And the there you go. So you haven't noticed it before, taking real stock of it, but you're starting to get this inkling. Hey, man, this is a pretty speciesist rebellion you're sitting with here. You should, they need to get more diversity on their command staff.
Would I have noticed this around Yavin as well? Lots of
yes.
Okay.
There's a smattering, but you start thinking maybe we need to have a rebellion within the rebellion. Yes, I like that idea. All set aside, Commander Waseka greets you. Yes, welcome. Don't get too cold. Yes, just be sure to be indoors at dusk. Close the doors. It gets really cold out there at night, and if you're not prepared, you're gonna get frozen solid. So, but anyway, welcome to Hoth. Welcome to our base in progress. We've only been able to build the support tunnels and support locations so far. We haven't got into the large hangar areas yet, and building the other support structures, like our power systems and our space defense weapons. But we have everything else ready to go. But we need all our personnel to be able to finish the rest of the work in the time allotted before we have to move to our next construction area. The med bay, and he gives you a pointer where the droids are trying to treat our people. And he gives you, some guidance and such. And Trio's, I'm cold. I'm cold. And he's even got a big furry jacket on and things like that, and he's still cold.
She pats him on the arm, kind of reassuringly.
Yeah, his big black nose is kind of, you can see little icicles around the fur around it and things like that, and it's not as glistening as it normally is. So he's not happy. He's a bit of a whiner at times as well. So, and Commander Borsega, so let me know what you need. If you need to go foraging on the planet's surface, we have a couple of scouts. We have some speeders that can be used. We're bringing in some cold resistant animals as well that can actually have a little bit more endurance out there than even our vehicles do. So we have to be really careful with the vehicles when we send them out. So
noted.
And I'll leave you to it. Any questions?
Well, the information back at the main base was a little bit sparse. We understand around half the personnel are affected. Yeah,
we're just a little bit over the half point now. New person seems to get sick every day, just because of the air handling system isolate.
And is it one
we don't have built in
group or species in particular, or does it just afflicting everybody?
It's afflicting everybody. From what we were able to tell, it started with a couple of our human scouts, and we didn't think that we needed to quarantine them at that point. We thought it was just a cold, and well, it's cold here, so we didn't put much stock into it until it started spreading, and by then it was too late to do anything about it. That's when we sent the request in, and that was 3 weeks ago, and we went from a third of our staff to just over half now that are afflicted. The problem is that nobody seems to be recovering. You'll have to talk to the medical droid. I don't understand some of their lingo too well. I'm a construction engineer, and that's my job here. I'm not a doctor, so I'll leave you to it.
Very well.
How long ago did you say that this plague started?
About 5 weeks ago, when they first started seeing it, started being affected by it. When the first two came down with the illness.
It's a reasonably rapid spread, but I've heard of more virulent diseases, certainly. Anyway, we'll keep you updated as we uncover more.
Okay. Thank you.
So head
he goes off and okay, we got so many other people come running up with tablets and such, and what are we gonna do here? We don't have enough people to do this. And he goes walking off, and he's grumbling about manpower and what's priority for the next part of the construction. And you're left here on devices to wander through the halls of the partially built base.
Well, Trevor, I guess it would be a good idea to maybe start at the medical bay and see what results they have.
Well, that was my thinking. It certainly is suggestive that it was several of the scouts that came down with it first. It perhaps indicates that this was a disease that's native, or a bacteria perhaps that's native to the planet, rather than something that's been brought in from outside. Anyway, let's go and see what's what.
Okay, you get lost a couple of times. They haven't quite got to putting signposting up. The guys that are constructing the base know the base, so they don't worry about it too much. They weren't expecting guests.
Ooh, can I do some kind of check to see how long it takes us to find the way?
Sure. Roll a
for
survival
flavour.
check. Roll a survival check.
Roll a 1. Oh, we ended up out on the surface and froze to death.
It takes you half an hour to find your location. When you do get there, you realize that it should have only taken you about 10 minutes. You hit a couple of switchbacks and was looping around the outer rim of the base, not going to where you needed to, and then you tried to backtrack and got secondarily lost. Also because they finished with most of the construction here. There's not a lot of people in the hallways, so there wasn't anybody to really ask for directions. And now and again, the people that you did gave you vague, oh yeah, go down there until you see the red pipe, hang a right, and then go down 50 meters and then take a left. And of course every section has a red pipe, but it's not that red pipe. So you get there finally. In the bay, there's space for like 4 or 5 people. You can see the fittings and space has been made for back to tanks to be put into the base, but obviously they haven't arrived yet. They weren't expecting a need. The beds are all full, the 4 beds there, and you see 2 medical droids, scanning, checking over people and things like that. Not quite cursing their lot in life, but it's just like, if this gets any worse, my poor motivators are going to get frozen up if I have to stay here much longer looking after these people. I need a good hot oil bath, one of them is saying. The other one just is methodical in its approach and such. So, what would you like to do?
Well, Pharaoh, this is your area of expertise, so I don't really know.
My immediate thought is, obviously we're going to consult with the medical droids, but they are really intended as assistance or to deal with low-level medical contingencies rather than this scale of thing. So I suspect they're a little overwhelmed right now. But my immediate thought is to move the worst afflicted patients into the shuttle where we have better labs and facilities, and basically try and run what tests, see if we can determine what this is. And given that we have people at various stages of infection, that will also help things out, because we can track the pathology of the disease, whatever it may be, and see if that gives us any clues as well. So at this point I'm going to go over to the medical droids and see what information they've been able to glean about the symptoms and the progression and all that kind of thing.
Okay. These are basically, both of them are 2-1B series droids, thankfully. So
the ones from the films, essentially.
Exactly, yeah.
Not great conversationalists, but they'll get the job done.
So you can go up to the methodical one or the self-chatting, talking to himself.
I think I would go for the methodical one first. The one that just seems to be getting on with it.
Okay. Can I help you? Are you ill as well?
No, not yet, fortunately. Hopefully this can be dealt with before that becomes an issue. I'm going to assume we've got, face masks on or something at this point.
I know you're in the base. It's a little... You don't have to have face gear on to protect you from the cold or anything.
No, I mean, like, medical
yes,
masks sort of thing.
yes. You thought ahead and came in so that you can.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've got something to protect you from inhaling potentially airborne.
If they don't know, well, they kind of assume it might be airborne if they think it's been spread through the base circulation systems.
So, who are you? I don't recognize you.
We have just arrived, in fact. I'm Dr. Farah. Oh God, what's the surname again? Torden, I think, was it? Torden, yes. And I have been dispatched by the Rebel Command to come and assist and try and find out what's been going on here and develop a cure if need be, so the base can get back on track.
Good to hear. I am 21B5, and my colleague is 21B3, who at that point goes, "What? You're here to help? Finally. B3, keep it down. Let's not overexcite. We finally have some helping staff here. How do you plan to proceed? What would you like to know?"
Well, if you could first off transfer any and all data you might have to a data chip that I can peruse later. We have been sent with a medical shuttle which has up to and including a Bacta tank. My thought is that we would take the worst afflicted patients there, where there are potentially better facilities for looking after them, and do some laboratory work. I'm just kind of making this up as I go along, and see if we can't find out what we're dealing with.
Excellent, excellent. As you can see, our facility is here rather limited, so we've had to quarantine the afflicted in their living quarters. Let's go over to the med station over here, and I can get you that information.
Very well. Does this disease seem like any that you have in your data banks already? I'm working on the theory that it might be something local and therefore unknown.
That has been our premise as well. It starts off indicating as a Rhodian-style flu, and then progresses to debilitating lethargy, if you want to call it that. The persons are still, and he's busy downloading, or it's busy downloading the data. It's plugged in and prepping something. It's got a chip going and what, and talking at the same time. Basically, the flu symptoms recede considerably, but the person is left with no energy, no strength, anything like that. They become a total invalid at that point. It's almost as if they've been drugged somehow. I have been doing some. Oh God, I can't think of the word I need for it. Epidemiology of the disease, and these are the first two people, and these are the people who subsequently got it, or when they reported the symptoms to us. And from what we can tell, it spread from these two people that were staying closest to them. They came into contact directly with the most, and then outwards from there. So we definitely know that it is touch, or either from them sneezing, is a full airborne contagion.
Could I please have the names of those two who were afflicted first?
It's on the chip. Yeah. So.
Do we have the information about where these two had been scouting prior to being infected?
I do not. Commander Waseka may be able to help you with that.
Very well.
How about I contact the commander and start working out where they've been scouting, and you start moving the patients to the ship.
Farrow nods. Seems like a good division of labour.
Okay. So the two sickest people are strange enough and handily enough. The two scouts to not overwhelm the shuttle. Probably best just to take the two of them first.
How many spaces in the shuttle do we have?
You can get 4. You could be treating 4 people if you want to, but since you know where Ground Zero pretty much is, based on the information, starting with them would be useful. The droid says, has a thought, and it's like, maybe take somebody from the recent afflicted. I don't know, but I was looking up and checking my data banks, and I haven't been. We just don't have facilities here, but if the contagion has mutated, would be useful to know as well. So he looks there and it's like, I recommend this patient, and gives you that information as well. So these 3, the first 2, and this patient should hopefully allow you to isolate the contagion and determine if it's mutating and how virulent it is.
Very well, that sounds like an eminently sensible plan.
And everybody goes off to their separate ways. I'll start with you then, Julie. Commander Wasek is like, oh yes, that's base security. That's where is he? I keep forgetting his name. He is a Freudian, strangely enough. You seem to find a lot of them around. Captain Klein, as he likes to go. And no, that's not the German spelling. Maybe it is. We can tell you more about exactly their whereabouts and things like that. He is unfortunately under the weather as well. He was only fairly recently hit, but gives you the captain's cabin basically and points you in that direction.
All right, thank you.
Based on your prior thing, there's a pretty good opportunity to ask for a map of base.
It's so much fun to get lost all the time.
Okay.
So I get a map of the base.
Okay, so you make it over to Captain Klein's.
And knock on the door. Captain Klein, are you still alive?
And you see coming out of his one of his ears, and it's just like, you're just like, that looks nasty. It's like, yes, I am. What can I help you with? And who are you?
Well, I'm Jalib, and I'm here to help you with the current plague of disease you have. And in doing so, I would I need some information from you regarding those two, Scout 1 and 2, who were primary patients, regarding their whereabouts and what.
Their last, their patrol routes and things like that. Yes.
Stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, let me do. And he goes to his workstation, types in some commands, and does a quick scan. Pops a chip out. Here's all the information you need.
Thank you.
Now leave me alone. I'm tired. He goes back,
Yes.
climbs into bed. And
Good health
like,
to you, sir.
I need it. He turns over and just ignores you. You can, you almost feel sorry for the.
All right. I just I'll head back to the ship and pop in the chip in the data bank and start working on this. See
Okay.
what I can find.
Meanwhile, Farah has the people over there taking blood samples, throwing them under the microscope.
Lots of things with Petri dishes.
Beep beeps, lots of little lights flashing, things spinning. You're liking the lab. So you wish you had access to one of these all the time. Make research and manufacturing of medicines a lot easier and more fun at that point. So
It certainly would. Yeah, she's kind of slightly. She's having in the back of her mind of slightly wondering if she could somehow keep this when she's done, but knows that the rebels would probably want to hang on to it just because, their resources are a little thin. But it would be perfect for what she does, wandering around the galaxy.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Yep. You've heard of them. You've seen them in brochures, but now you get to experience one firsthand, and you're loving it. You spend several hours. The computer starts tracking a virus in the samples. Strange enough, it's going a lot quicker than expect. And you isolate the virus. Make a medicine check.
Okay.
Medicine.
This is going to be medicine with. Well.
With your bonus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
You don't. Oh, wow! You had to do that.
Yeah.
You are getting it just isolated, and the slide breaks with your sample in there, and you're gonna have to start all over again for determining it. But you at least have a pointer now, and.
Would this be the equivalent of me, like, I'm still not familiar with this mechanic, but taking 20 to, like, do it more carefully over?
You can take 20, and because you were in a little rush there, so you just anything. Let me slow down. I should just take my time. I've got a good pointer now where I need to look. And about 8 hours later, you've got the virus isolated, and you've only got it isolated from both of them, from both the initial two and then the third, more recent person. You need to do some more work, but you get word that you probably want to head back. You want to close up for the night because it's the sun setting type of situation, and it's pretty cold. Plus, you've been working quite late.
So it wouldn't be warm enough to stay in the shuttle then?
Oh yeah. They've got a little power pack that's plugged into.
Oh,
the
okay.
shuttle.
So we can just
powered. Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
I think she would
stay
want
in
to
the
stay
shuttle.
in and monitor the patients.
Yeah. You can push yourself a little bit more and keep working through the night.
No, she's just gonna sleep in the shuttle and like set some alarms for if the life support does anything, haywire with the patients.
Not a problem. Back to Julie. During that same time, you've gone through the records of the scouts, patrols, and things like that, and you pick up a reference to a strange cave that they came across. There seemed to be tracks, large tracks, and they had inspected it, gone in a small portion of the way. They found, detritus from dead animals, is what they were just able to ascertain. And at that point, they decided the better part of discretion to get out. And made a note of the location and decided, okay, we gotta get out of here, and we'll report back, and they can send troops out here. We're not equipped for this, to take on anything that could live in this type of. So they left at that point. So that's the only anomaly you've been able to pick up their ports, their travels. And strange enough, that was the last patrol they did before they came down.
Alright, that sounds like something I need to look into more.
Okay. Next morning, nothing untoward. You kind of get the feeling they can barely, if you pump them with enough meds, and you can probably get them be able to coherently speak to you. They're little, especially the two scouts. They're really they're really weak, and that. It's not killing them,
but they're practically comatose.
Exactly. So you can give them some, to be able to speak if need be. The other one who's sick is just drowning in mucus and things like that. He's very, very unhappy. So
I'll make sure he's well supplied with tissues.
Yeah. You take a 20. Go ahead and make a medicine check with your data pad.
Okay. Can't possibly as bad. Okay, much better than last time.
So you see that you come across the strange. The virus doesn't seem to have between the original afflicted and the most recent. So it's not going through rapid. Found a need to, if you want to call it that. But there's something strange about it that you just put your finger on. It takes you a little while of digging through.
Do I decide that trying to maybe get a sample from the original source might be useful?
You get that feeling.
Okay.
It's almost a pheromone type of based, virus type of thing. That it's something secretes.
So it's basically like just seriously screwing up the body chemistry of the people it infects, rather than like
exactly
doing lots of nasty cell damage or anything.
You would think that it's something that it's either a self-defense mechanism. It's something that whatever secreted it is naturally giving off, so that any let's put it this way, what's the word I'm looking food would get afflicted and be easier to capture at that point. So
okay.
It's sort of like you also pick up that it's pretty hardy. You run some tests, and it's rather hardy to the cold. Go ahead and roll another medicine check.
Well, I could always. Yeah, okay. I was gonna say.
This isn't a 21. Taking 20, you have to actually make. You find that just keeping people really warm starts limiting the activity of of the virus.
Okay, I imagine I'll be experimenting with
increasing
drugs and things
the
as well.
heat way above where you'd be keeping it, because it's kind of a comfortable cold, right? But if you had to jack the heat up quite a bit, it would inhibit the disease, but not necessarily kill it. And so you can impart on Jalip that you need a sample of the original source critter that expelled the pheromone.
I think that's probably a good point to wrap things up.
Sounds like we're going hunting.
Yes, you are. So, that was the quick, short, and sweet 1 hour pre-session. We'll finish it up next time.